Got me? Testing, testing, 1 2 1 2. Let me know if you guys have me. If we fix this. Nikki, you got me? Tara, testing, testing. You got mic check, 1 2 1 2. Mic check, mic check.
That's not it, right?
Huh? Hey, mic check, 1 2 1 2. Do you guys have me or shots up? Hey, do you guys have me? Am I just tossing? Yeah, am I tossing to anyone, or just after I wrap up here, I toss back to you guys in studio, or? Toss it to Craig. Can I am I tossing to any of my sots that I got, or no? What the plan? Okay, so then I'm gonna toss to Craig, who's down at the. Where's Craig at? Is Craig at down below where the Hearst is, or do I say Craig? What are you saying? Where's Craig at? Okay, so toss back to Craig. All right, great, thanks. You see it? Huh?
Fix that mic cord.
Yeah. Flag you? Do you see it? Hey, we see it. We're starting to see it. Nate has it. We see it coming in. Yeah, it's coming in. It's far away, but we see it. You got it? You can take it in like 20 seconds. I lost it.
I got it.
Huh?
It's in the clouds.
You got time. You got like a minute. I don't see it. Yeah. Hey, Craig, we're over here at the Sky Harbor on top of the Terminal 4 garage. We're seeing Air Force 2, it looks like, just starting to approach. We've been out here now for a couple hours, and I'll say as we wait for the plane to come in, a crowd has started to gather. You can't see it in this shot as we're trying to track the plane, but there's about a dozen, maybe 15 or so people here that have gathered along the railing to watch Air Force 2 come in and land and pay the respects to the late Charlie Kirk. We actually talked to some of these people earlier, and one person was as young as 13 years old. He said he's been following Charlie Kirk for the past year and a half on TikTok. and just really liked his message of having this open dialogue. We talked to another woman who was a flight attendant who just actually wrapped up a flight before this, and one came straight here onto this rooftop. She's carrying and holding an American flag and waiting for Air Force Two to pay her respects. Again, she was visibly emotionally upset about the loss and couldn't believe it. She was on a plane actually serving as a hostess on the flight when she heard the news and just started breaking down, she told us, midway through that flight. So we're keeping eyes up here on the sky. We saw Air Force Two just a minute ago make its way over to Sky Harbor Airport. So we're gonna keep it up here and monitor, because it should be arriving and landing here any minute. And we have crews on the ground. We're not sure exactly what the plan is after, where that funeral or the procession will be, or if there's a vigil, anything of that sort. So we're working on to get more details. But right now the crowd actually continues to grow. I wish I could show you guys what I'm seeing along this railing of the parking structure, but there's people lined up all the way down this whole railing in the parking garage. Craig, I want to go back to you about what you're seeing over there as we wait for the approach of Air Force Two. Oh, sure. So yeah, great question, Javier. We've been up here for about 2 hours. So when we got here, traffic was flowing as usual, but a couple of the airport operations teams were up here, and I asked them that question because there was flight restriction from 3:30 to 6:30, and I asked them kind of what does that entail, and yes, all these flights will have to be at a ground stop. So they said expect delays as we wait for Air Force Two to land here momentarily. Yeah, no, a great point. Everyone we spoke to up here, some who just got off a flight, and I said, well, were you worried about delays? And they said it doesn't matter because, like you said, to your point, Faye, is that this is such an important moment for them to pay their respects to Charlie Kirk, and that really never came up, even for the people I talked to out here, and it really showed the kind of the reach Kirk had, from someone as young as 13 to people here in their late 50s, 60s who really came out to show their support and respect for him. So it's continued to grow, Javier and Faye.
to touch down exactly where they want to touch down and roll out exactly where they want to roll out. And you can see a picture perfect approach here on Air Force 2.
Let's listen in for a second and watch.
And the wheels are down on Air Force 2. Vice President J.D. Vance and his wife, as well as some of the members of Turning Point USA. Charlie Kirk's wife also on board, we've been told, just landing there at Sky Harbor Airport.
When we talk about the investigation, let's talk a little bit about that, because at this current time, the shooter is still at large. A massive manhunt, it continues to be underway, looking for the suspect who is believed to be responsible for killing Charlie Kirk, a very prominent conservative political activist. The FBI this morning released photos of the person of interest. They have now offered a $100,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest of that individual. President Donald Trump speaking earlier today, saying that they are making big progress, and we know FBI Director Kash Patel was headed to Utah to assist in that investigation.
Yeah, and there was a lot of Secret Service up on the campus up in Orem, Utah earlier today, so it was unclear if that was in relation to the Vice President being up in the Salt Lake City area for this flight, or if that was in relation to the FBI Director Kash Patel on his way to that area to hopefully update the public at some point. I do want to show you a picture that we have here as we continue to take a look at these live pictures of Air Force 2. We also have a picture of the suspect we want to bring up right now. Appears to be a young man. There seems to be some very good security camera footage of him when he was on campus. They've been able to track his movements very, very well through campus. But so far, the person not in custody to the best of our knowledge.
And they were really able to track him from the time he got onto campus, worked his way, and that picture appears to be while he was walking up a stairwell, got onto the roof, and then even tracking him as he left, went into a wooded area, and that's where they ended up finding the rifle.
All right, let's go out to our Ashley Holden. She's at Sky Harbor Airport awaiting the arrival of Air Force 2, Vice President J.D. Vance, bringing home the remains of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, guys, if you can see this now, we have Air Force 2 here pulling up. We believe it's gonna come up to these stairs right here. This is what we are anticipating. We also have police officers here with motorcycles. They are ready for this procession along with supporters of Charlie Kirk. Many of them have their camera phones out right now, and they are recording this moment. So many of them told us that this is what they wanted to be here for, to see Charlie Kirk brought here to Arizona. They wanted to be close by. And we are seeing Air Force 2 here pulling up. And like we anticipated, we thought that they were going to stop here at this staircase. So we are going to see if that holds true. We have police that are getting out now. Everyone kind of going into motion for what they have prepared hours here for. We have Secret Service that is up on the roof, and we are waiting to see this arrival here. We have been showing you, here it is. We have the staircase. It is pulling up here to Air Force 2. We were a little concerned this bus might move in the way, but we are getting a perfect view of this staircase pulling up to Air Force 2. You might see our camera move just a little bit as we try to get you the best shot of this. Everyone, we have dozens of people here watching, holding American flags with their phones out as they watch this all take place. Just down from where I'm standing on the other side of the executive terminal, we have quite a few motorcycles, police motorcycles waiting for this. Like I said, everyone waiting for this moment, and we see a door. It looks like it's going to open here. So many people wanting to be here when Charlie Kirk arrived back. We saw a white hearse that pulled in here just before 2 o'clock, and we have been waiting here for hours, watching as law enforcement swept, watching as Secret Service prepared on the roof, watching as Secret Service swept our gear as well. And now we have law enforcement here. We can see that cars, motorcycles are starting to prepare here. They are getting stationed for this procession that we are expecting here. And we are waiting for this door to open here on Air Force 2. Yes, go ahead, Javier.
Have we heard anything about the procession and where it's headed after the body is retrieved?
no confirmed information as of yet. And right now we have this bus pulling up here that I think is going to block a little bit of our view. So we might have to move here for you guys. We have seen these buses, and like I said, this was what we thought might be taking place. Obviously, we have the Vice President who is arriving. We have Charlie Kirk. We have everyone who is on Air Force 2, and we are trying to move to get a better view. So you might see our camera here move, and my photographer and I here are going to move to try and see people getting off Air Force 2. So bear with us here, guys. We've got media that you're going to see, and we are walking. So hold with us. Here we go. We have people getting off the plane. We're going to put our camera down here so you can see what is going on. We have people getting off the plane here, walking on to the tarmac. And you can see we were anticipating the Vice President, his wife, members of Charlie Kirk's family, and others here on Air Force 2. And we are seeing quite a few people here arriving here in Phoenix on the tarmac. And we are waiting to see the white hearse that we saw pull up here. As far as the procession that's going to follow, we don't really know the route it's going to take. And obviously, we have so much security that is a part of this because we have so many people a part of this, including the Vice President and his wife, is what we were anticipating. So we're having this bus pull up even more, even though we moved in this direction. So we got a little bit of that for you guys, and we are now waiting for this procession to start. And like I said, we are seeing motorcycles, everyone kind of here shifting here to try and get this view. Go ahead, guys.
You can't help but think that with that bus moving, that's a security move right there, where they're likely blocking the people getting off the plane.
Yeah, it certainly looks to be an intentional move. Also, remember, anytime either the president with Air Force One or the vice president with Air Force Two moves around the country, there are a lot of staffers that move as part of this team. And we know in Salt Lake City that they had buses there because they needed to move some of those staffers as well once they got off the plane. So this may also be just a form of transportation. And also, it could be a way to block the view and perhaps give the loved ones of Charlie Kirk a little bit of privacy. Want to go over to our Ben Brown right now. He has a different vantage point. Ben, what are you seeing?
Okay, guys, we're getting ready for this.
Yeah, Faye, we're on the roof of the Terminal 4 parking lot, kind of overlooking Air Force 2 that just landed like you guys were describing. And over here, we have dozens of people just on this roof paying the respects. We're going to pan the camera over here so you can see them. We talked to several of them earlier before Air Force 2 arrived. I mean, we're talking kids as young as 13, going up to older adults. And I want you to hear from this one family, Parker, who's 13 years old. Parker's 13 years old, and his dad, who really resonated with Charlie's message. I want to show you the plane one more time, though. Let's turn back over here, back to the plane where you can see as they kind of get off the plane here and to board. But the messages that these people told me that really resonated with them about Charlie Kirk going out to these college campuses, having this open dialogue, was that he encouraged debate. He encouraged kind of that pushback, but having a civil discourse. And that's what people were telling me that they really enjoyed about Charlie Kirk's message. And I want you to take a listen to this one family, what they had to say. Oh, so we'll have that for you later, but let me just paraphrase what they had to say. 13 years old, he was watching Charlie Kirk on TikTok, okay? And he found him about a year and a half ago and said that got him into politics. And his dad, when I asked his dad, were you shocked that your 13-year-old son is so in tune with the political climate right now? His lips started to quiver and couldn't believe it, and didn't even know how to share his thoughts on this moment with Air Force 2, carrying the late Charlie Kirk, because he had such a profound impact on his son. So that is kind of the impact we're seeing that Charlie Kirk had up here. And it's continued. People are continuing to kind of roll up and park themselves on the edge of this wall and just stare down and pay the respect. So I want to toss it back to you, Javier and Faye.
Ben, let me ask you, since you are up on the roof there and there's such incredible security concerns going on right now, have you seen a lot of security measures there at the airport as well?
Honestly, Faye, no, we have not. There's no security up here, at least from what I can see. We did have a couple Air Sky Harbor operations staff come up here, but they were curious, honestly, if we knew when Air Force 2 would land because they wanted to watch the plane come down and pay their respects. So in terms of security, really nothing to really report, at least from our vantage point up here on the roof.
Yeah, and the camera right now, just to let everybody at home know, is very much zoomed in. That is quite a distance from where actual Air Force 2 is parked right now.
When we had that shot earlier, you could see there were people up on the executive terminal, and whether they were security or some sort of law enforcement to make sure they were protecting that area. So I would imagine security is definitely stepped up when Air Force 2 arrives. I don't know if Ashley has a better shot, that we can get a better shot now, that there's possibly some movement. Are we seeing that?
Yeah. There we go. Ashley, are you still with us?
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you what you're seeing from.
Shot that we are seeing what we believe is Secret Service here on the roof. They got up on the roof probably an hour and a half before we saw Air Force 2 even cross into Arizona, and we have seen them there ever since. What we are seeing is we have this bus here, and you guys discussed having to balance not only privacy but security because we have the Vice President here. And so we have seen this bus kind of move back and forth. It appears Secret Service has been directing it as they try to get people off this plane. Now we can see the front door of Air Force 2 open. We thought maybe the Vice President would be coming out of that door, but we are still waiting. And Alfonso, if you want to show the supporters that we have right over here. So we had the security on the roof, we've seen Secret Service, and take a look at these dozens of people that I was talking about. Many of them, as Air Force 2 landed, had their phones out. They have been waiting. You can see the American flags as well. Now, Alfonso, here, go to the right a little bit. We have this motorcycle. We've been talking about this procession. This is what we are seeing here as they wait. And we are assuming that we saw that hearse just a few hours ago, and we are still waiting for people, it appears, to get off of Air Force 2, guys.
Yeah. Ashley, out of curiosity, I know when the president travels, of course, he travels with the Beast, as it's called, that heavily reinforced vehicle that he travels in when he travels around the country. Obviously, that is a major security measure that's used to protect the president. Does the Vice President, have you seen any large SUVs being unloaded from Air Force 2?
We haven't been able to get a good look, but we are right now. So I can see quite a few SUVs that are parked right in front of Air Force 2. And I think you're able to see that. We have seen some of those arriving throughout the day. We have seen police SUVs arriving. And now we can see, that is the front door, correct? Right there? That's the side door that we are seeing here. So we have seen, like I said, more people here coming off the plane, but we have seen lots of security here, lots of Secret Service, having sweeps, talking to us, moving this bus back and forth, having a big presence here along with law enforcement. So because we are so close, we do have someone here coming down the steps. I don't know if we can zoom in. We are across the street from where Air Force 2 has landed, and so it's tough to see from my location who exactly is getting off this plane, but I can see a black SUV that is waiting there at the bottom of the stairs, it appears, and that is what we are seeing right now.
We're seeing a lot of hand gestures, so there's somebody in, one of those openings.
We believe that Charlie Kirk's casket is going to be being brought out here. My photographer, who is taking a little closer look through his camera, is showing me right now what we are taking a look at. And that is what we believe is going to happen here momentarily. So many people waiting for this moment. Like we've said, so many people wanted to be here, right here, when Charlie Kirk arrived in Phoenix. And so we are waiting to see.
Just to backtrack a little bit, yesterday we got the notice that the second family, Vice President J.D. Vance and his wife, were going to travel to Salt Lake City, and that's where they were going to visit with Charlie Kirk's family and a number of close friends, and then escort the body of Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated yesterday, 31 years old, while holding a forum at Utah Valley University. shortly after noon. And then we knew that they were going to fly to Phoenix, and this is where Turning Point USA is headquartered, in Phoenix, Arizona. And so we've been awaiting this for some time, and earlier this morning, we started getting more information about timing, and they left Salt Lake City just a few hours ago. But as we've been tracking that plane, Air Force Two, we know that it has been moving quickly, and so we had estimated their arrival time at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. They made that in plenty of time before that.
Yeah, and it's interesting. The Vice President J.D. Vance actually posted on X about 20 hours ago talking about the origin of his friendship with Charlie Kirk, and I'll read a little bit about that as we await the casket to be brought out of Air Force Two. But Vice President wrote, a while ago, probably in 2017, I appeared on Tucker Carlson's show to talk about God knows what. Afterward, a name I barely knew sent me a DM on Twitter and told me I did a great job. It was Charlie Kirk, and that moment of kindness began a friendship that lasted until today.
And we know he became very good friends with President Donald Trump. We have some flowers leaving Air Force Two right now, being removed and definitely brought off that plane. But I was talking about this yesterday in the newsroom when President Donald Trump had one of his last campaign rallies here at Desert Diamond Arena. He spoke so highly of Charlie Kirk. In fact, when he took that stage, he couldn't say enough kind words about Charlie Kirk. And remember, Turning Point USA, they were the host of that event. But as I was mentioning to people yesterday, Charlie Kirk did speak at that event. He got loud applause, and people were, screaming his name and stuff. And immediately after leaving that stage, he had a crew of people, his security team, moving him through that arena, and people were going out of their way to shake his hand and meet him. And immediately after the rally, when the arena had already cleared out, he held his own mini rally with the people who he had gathered for that event, because he was known for reaching out to the younger generation and really supporting that ground game for President Trump, for people to get out the vote and get people registered.
Yeah, and as we continue to take a look at the casket being removed here from Air Force Two, being brought back to Arizona from Salt Lake City, Utah, where Charlie Kirk was assassinated yesterday. The thing that a lot of people are talking about is his willingness to go into what were sometimes hostile crowds and to, as you were saying, Javier, earlier, say, debate me. Let's have a debate about the ideas. And he was not afraid to go out there and take on people who had different opinions. Now, he had sometimes very controversial opinions himself. And, many people are vehemently opposed to some of the ideas that he supported and what he did. But certainly the events of yesterday were horrific all around.
We're going to watch as they remove this casket from Air Force Two, and it's hard to make out where they're headed or how they're going to bring it down. I would imagine some sort of lift. And so this is the first time we're seeing that casket in the body of Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated yesterday, 31 years old, leaves behind a wife, Erica, who is a former Miss Arizona, and 2 young kids.
Yeah, and that's have been one of the most difficult things to see is the images of the family together. Some of the images that we've seen over the last day of one of his young children running up to him as he's being interviewed, and how much he loved and very clearly enjoyed having his family around him.
You were talking about the personal relationship he had formed with Vance. And one of the things that kind of stood out was at one point, remember, Kurt as well as Vance, both kind of personally and politically, they were kind of skeptical about Donald Trump in 2016. And we know how that changed over time, and really Kurt being the driving force for getting President Donald Trump reelected.
Yeah, and Donald Trump Jr. also very active, obviously, on X, and talking about his reaction to all of this, talking a bit about his friend again, saying he wasn't just a friend, he was like a little brother to me and to millions of people around the world, a true inspiration, one of the most courageous, principled men I've ever known, and he lived every day with purpose. His faith in God was unshakable. His love for Erica, that's his wife, was inspiring, and the way he adored and cared for his two beautiful children showed the kind of man he truly is. The words of Donald Trump Jr., a close friend of Charlie Kirk's.
And people on the other side of the aisle speaking out against the political violence, saying there is no place in America for that political violence, for something like this to happen. Unfortunately, we've seen it over the past few years where it's only seemed to escalate.
On both sides of the aisle.
On both sides, absolutely.
Absolutely,
on both sides. But, yesterday, the governor of Utah coming out and saying, guys, this is time to look in the mirror and really take a deep breath on how we want our future to look.
Yeah, and certainly freedom of speech, one of the founding principles of this nation. As you take a look there at the executive terminal and the flag flying at half staff with all those Secret Service agents there behind it.
Ashley, what are you seeing from your vantage point at this point?
Yeah, well, we just saw flowers that were being brought out of Air Force Two. We just saw the casket brought down, and now we are waiting for this procession to take place. Like I said, we've seen motorcycles preparing, Secret Service still stationed on the roof, watching everything that is taking place very, very carefully. And I do want to describe to you kind of the tone that is taking place here. Obviously, so many people wanted to see Air Force Two. They had their phones out and they were recording, and some of them still are, but you can feel that somberness and that sadness and that emotion here as all of this takes place, as people were seeing that casket taken out of Air Force Two and Charlie Kirk arriving back here in Arizona.
And Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica Kirk, I was just checking her social media accounts, and she has been posting Bible verses within the last day or two. Certainly their faith was a core component of their relationship, very strong in their faith. Want to go back out to Craig McKee now at Turning Point USA's headquarters as we continue to look at the casket of Charlie Kirk being removed from Air Force Two. And Craig, give us a sense of what it's like there right now.
Javier and Faye, what I can tell you is we continue to monitor, of course, the casket there being transported out at Sky Harbor International Airport. The group out here at Turning Point USA headquarters continues to grow. We're seeing a massive surge, in fact, right now, compared to the last couple of hours. I believe, people getting off work now have some availability to be able to come down here and pay their respects. But we have seen this steady flow for the past 24 hours ever since these memorials. There's actually two different memorials set up on the entry to Turning Point USA here, both on the left and right side. And you can see people coming by with flowers, balloons, signs, many of them stopping and taking a moment and saying a silent prayer. We've seen couples, we've seen friends, we've seen children out here as well. A wide array of people coming down to pay the respects to Charlie. And in speaking with so many of them, they're talking about the faith and the messaging that Charlie brought to the community, something they want to see continue. The issue of unity and family and faith, a key component for so many out here speaking to us. And I don't see a stoppage to this anytime soon. This is going to continue to grow. Again, Phoenix police are on both sides of the area here. There have not really been any issues. The several hours that we've been out here, there's been one issue, and that was taken care of very quickly. Everything else has just been person after person coming by, paying their respects, some staying for a few minutes, some staying even longer. We've seen some gentlemen out here for about 2 or 3 hours, actually, just taking in the moment, taking it, going through their process, and that's what this is. Everyone has their own way to process and deal with such a tragedy like this within their community, and being so closely tied, of course, to the Phoenix Valley. We've also seen a number of people just driving by. They drive by, they take some pictures, shoot some video, and they go on their way. So again, everybody kind of processing their own situation, processing it in their own way, through their own faith. And we've seen a couple different prayer circles also join up here to my right, your left of the screen. people joining together to share with one another and join hands and pray, not only for Charlie Kirk, but for his family, his wife, his children, and for the community overall here in the Phoenix Valley. Faye and Javier.
Craig, out of curiosity, that one incident that you were talking about, was that a protester that had come out? Because we have seen that in various parts of the country right now. Because, again, as much as we've talked about Charlie Kirk being very admired by some people, he also has been highly criticized by others. And we don't want to shy away from that part of the story either.
Absolutely right. The individual that drove by, they drove by in a car and they started screaming out different sayings and words out of their window as they were driving by. The crew and the group that were out here at the time quickly turned around, responded, yelling at them to go away, get out of here, tossing some water at the car, things of that nature. The individual kept driving on. It was a female driver, drove on down the road. Phoenix PD officer turned their lights on, followed him down the road, pulled him over. Not sure what happened during that encounter, if they just wanted to touch base, assess the situation, if you will. But everything else has been calm. We have seen a lot of chatter on our Facebook page, ABC15's Facebook page, people responding to not only the coverage of what's taking place, but also the fact that Charlie Kirk's body is being brought back on Air Force 2. There are a lot of people concerned that this is misuse of taxpayer dollars. So when you talk, Faye, about the other side of this story, clearly there are people that have different messaging than Charlie Kirk carried throughout the communities and on campuses throughout whichever state he was in. That's why on many times there were often petitions to not have him go onto those campuses, and there was a lot of pushback from other groups. That is part of what makes America what it is, right? We get that First Amendment right. It's why people serve in the U.S. military, protect the freedom of speech that gives us our right to do what we do every single day. And so as a result of that, you know, you do get sometimes people sharing their viewpoints when it comes to politics. And in this instance, people are very concerned that the message of unity that they say that Charlie brought to a situation and that dialogue across the table on both sides has gone too far. And many of them say they're calling on their strength and unity in this community and the conservative community and those who are coming out here to push forward and just have brighter days ahead, as they say.
You know, what's interesting is this morning when I woke up and people were posting, we need to be more like September 12th. And of course, those of us who lived through that tragedy 24 years ago remember the unity that it happened the day after, where everybody was so loving, happy to see each other, exchange pleasantries, hugs, handshakes. And it really changed the country 24 years ago. And people saying a situation like this, whether you agree with it or whether you don't agree with it, because let's be honest, some people on social media were pretty vile yesterday when, mentioning the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But people saying we need to be more like September 12th and bring everybody together.
Right. Yeah, and I don't want to compare necessarily September 11th and what happened on September 11th to what's happened here. I don't know if it could be a direct comparison to your point, though, Javier. I do believe that that messaging of unity is being heard loudly out here among so many people wanting to just bring our country back together. You know, we are in a position in society right now, as we've covered these issues of political violence throughout our country and here in Arizona, of course, that ability to speak to someone face to face. Let's reference our parents, perhaps, and back in the day. You could sit and have a conversation, a family conversation, but our Thanksgiving dinners, our birthday gatherings, our community gatherings have changed so much in the past several years here, and there's serious concern among this group whether or not we can get back to that kind of dialogue, and that's some of the conversation that we're hearing out here and their concerns in light of what's happened now.
Yeah, and certainly one of the things that's being shared by a lot of people is a quote from Charlie Kirk at one of the events that he did, where he said, "When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think of the other side as so evil and they lose their humanity."
I think we all remember a time when...
And we've heard some calls for that.
We all remember a time when you weren't supposed to talk about politics and you weren't supposed to talk about religion. And when we reference days of old, maybe, that's what we need to get back to, where we can love thy neighbor and regardless of what their beliefs are politically and religious wise.
Right, and want to bring you again the vantage point from just a short time ago, the body of Charlie Kirk being removed from Air Force 2 there from the back of the plane and being brought down into the hearse there. And we know that his wife, Erica, was on the plane as well, at least that's what we've been told. Friends, supporters, other Turning Point USA employees also on the flight, as well as certainly the vice president, obviously, because it is Air Force 2, and his wife, who were on board as well, taking that flight from Salt Lake City that left there in the 3 o'clock hour and landing here shortly before 5 o'clock.
Yeah, let's check in with our Ashley Holden. She's on the ground there. What are you seeing? Is there any movement from those vehicles that were just outside of Air Force 2?
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of movement yet. We are actually seeing quite a few people here that I believe are going to start stopping this traffic here, because traffic has been ongoing. We actually have people coming out kind of asking what is going on. People have been doing that, but we do have quite a few supporters that have been here. But I think they are going to start stopping traffic and preparing for this procession now. Like we've been saying, we've had this bus that has been here as they balance what we believe is not only security, but also privacy, as we saw quite a few people get off, flowers carried off, and of course, Charlie Kirk's casket coming off of Air Force 2. And so we are just waiting to see what we believe is the white hearse that we saw going in just a few hours ago. And it looks like everyone is in place, and they are just waiting for everything within the executive terminal to be ready to go and for this procession to start. So we are just waiting for that. And we have been kind of walking around this area trying to get a good view, because we do see so many SUVs that are inside. We told you we had SUVs go inside, we had Phoenix Fire, we had quite a few law enforcement agents that have been in and around. And like we've been telling you, we have all of these supporters, Secret Service on top of the roof, everyone here for this moment. And we were talking to supporters. You guys were talking about Charlie Kirk, and they have been sharing the impact. Many of them emotional, like I've been saying, wanted to be here for this moment and wanted to see this moment, see Air Force 2 and be here. But like I said, everyone kind of seeing Air Force 2 pull up, and then you kind of felt a somberness that took over, as everyone here is here to honor and remember Charlie Kirk. So we are waiting for them to, what we assume, we'll move this bus, and then there's kind of a checkpoint that is just past this bus. And we are anticipating that we're going to see quite a few black SUVs, that we are going to see this white hearse come out. And as far as the procession and where it's going, we don't have confirmed information about that. But you can see traffic is still flowing here around the airport. And many people know that there is a distinct traffic pattern around Sky Harbor. So we are anticipating that we're going to have these people, they're going to stop traffic. And of course, this is very typical, especially when we have the vice president, and especially, we were anticipating the vice president and also his wife, members of Charlie Kirk's family, like we have been saying. So we are anticipating that these streets and this traffic is going to be stopped here soon, and we are going to see that procession start. Although I believe we will have a little bit of a warning, because like I said, I think this bus is going to move, and we're going to get a good view of that checkpoint. And we can see, it looks like there's a police car just beyond this bus, and they do have their lights on. So we are waiting to see what happens, waiting for this procession to start. And so many are as well. And I'm waiting to see the crowd reaction as we see this procession take place. People have brought out their American flags. They've brought out their families. And that was something that they mentioned that was important to us, is to bring their family to be here for this moment and to have their American flags. One mom brought her son, telling us, "I love my country," and she is here for this moment. So we have traffic. Now, traffic has been being directed, so I don't know if this is the moment where we're going to have things shut down. We have at moments had traffic directed, I think, because we do have people pausing, stopping as they are either leaving or traveling around the airport. But it does look like we have a little bit of movement here. So we are going to see if this is the start of the procession, but they're still letting some cars through here. police officers getting onto their motorcycles if they were not on, and so many members here of these supporters who have lined up, you can see, with their phones out ready to capture and be a part of this moment. So we will try and give you guys a heads up as soon as we see this bus move, as soon as we see some movement. And actually, it looks like we do have some movement. It looks like we have Secret Service that's on the move. It looks like traffic is being shut down here. From what I can see, right where we are standing is kind of a shorter road. It looks like we do have traffic that is being shut down right now. The bus, it looks like, is about to move. Take a look. We have these bagpipe players. They were playing earlier. We don't know. It kind of looks like they are going to come out and play as this procession moves by. So we are going to wait to see if that is what is going to happen. They were inside, they were playing prior, and now it looks like they are going to come out and join this procession right here. You can see traffic is being stopped, at least in one direction so far. They might let these cars go through here now and here we go. Here's the motorcycles that are on the move here. And it looks like this bus is moving a little bit. Here's the hearse. Charlie Kirk, and a wave from inside that hearse to those supporters. The hearse is leaving the executive terminal. So many coming to honor Charlie Kirk. It is pulling away along with quite a few SUVs, Secret Service standing by, and
Ashley,
everyone
can we
here feeling
pan over
just the
to,
quietness.
Ashley, can we pan over to the crowd for a moment that came out to pay their respects and kind of tell us a little bit about the reaction that you saw when the hearse came by?
We saw a wave, and it was quiet. It was as if everyone just felt the same thing, felt that sadness that they were talking about as they shared the impact that many said Charlie Kirk had on them. They held their American flags, and we really didn't hear anything from that crowd. And that's what I've kind of been describing as the somberness that we have felt here as soon as that casket was brought off of Air Force Two. And now this procession taking off, we're, like I said, not sure where that is going, guys.
We've seen that crowd grow substantially in just the last half hour or so since we've been watching. You know, as the hearse went by, we saw some of their reaction right before you cut away, but they saw that, and like you said, everybody was still, and those American flags were waving.
Yeah. Ashley, do you know if Charlie Kirk's young children were on board the plane as well?
We are not sure on that. We will work to confirm exactly who was on the plane, but obviously it looked like a member of the family inside that hearse giving a wave to everyone. That's what it appeared to be. Of course, we're going to work to confirm who was on the plane, who got off. It was hard to see from my vantage point just because we are across the street, and they are again trying to balance privacy and security, but you can see some of these supporters here hugging with their American flags. And that's kind of the feeling, is that people wanted to come here and be together as they mourn Charlie Kirk.
Ashley, we'll leave you for just a moment, let you catch your breath there, and see what else there is that you can share with us from your vantage point. We want to go back to Craig McKee at Turning Point USA's headquarters. Again, this was founded right here in the Valley when Charlie Kirk was only 18 years old and really became a political force across the nation.
Yeah, Faye, I do want to point out here, according to my sources, in fact, tied to the Vice President's circle, not only Charlie Kirk's body on that aircraft, on Air Force Two there, his family and a number of very close friends also being flown here to Phoenix, according to my sources there. You know, when we talk about this situation, we're seeing now 75 to 100 people out here between the two different memorials. Again, one memorial here outside of the headquarters, a second one on the other side of the driveway here. You know, many people I've spoken with said that they believe in Charlie Kirk's message and that he spoke of unity, family, and faith. We're going to hear from them in just a second here, but we do have some new statements that we want to talk about here from the Turning Point USA folks. It says, every one of us at Turning Point USA is crushed and devastated by the hateful murder of our founder and guiding light, Charlie Kirk. All of us have a lost leader, a mentor, and a friend. Above all, our hearts are with Erica and their 2 children. It goes on to say, more than anyone, Charlie believed in the power of argument and good faith debate to find the truth and guide people towards, if not agreement, then at least mutual understanding. Charlie was no stranger to threats. He received thousands throughout his life. Now, I want to share some reflection from some of the people I spoke with a little earlier here this afternoon.
It brought me to my knees. I couldn't believe it, and I even tried to find ways to justify it and figure out it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, and learning very quickly that it is real, and he's gone.
What was the messaging? What was the messaging that drew you to Charlie and what he stood for?
Faith and family. His faith was first, and always, and he's never ashamed of that. And as much as he taught me as a father, as a leader of my family, that obviously faith comes first in family, but that you can have a good open discussion with people without arguing, without name calling.
All right, we are seeing the procession now moving on. Now we want to go up to the Sweet James Chopper with the latest on this procession making its way through the Phoenix Valley.
And we're seeing that, is that the 51 or is that the 202? It's hard to make out right here, but you see that procession, and there is no other traffic on the freeway right now, and this is, the commute home.
All right, we're just getting in from the control room that this is the northbound side of the 51 that they're on right now as we take a look at these pictures. And keep in mind, we are, again, pull the curtain back a little bit on how this works. Generally, when you have, again, a president or a vice president, and Craig, you can certainly speak to that, having done helicopter reporting, that, the helicopter is kept fairly far back. There's sort of a no-go zone, a no-fly zone around anything to do with a president or a vice president. And, we're zoomed in as far as we can get for you, but there are rules that we do have to abide by.
Not to mention security goes well ahead of this procession, and they block off each and every on-ramp, off-ramp to make sure that nobody will interfere with that procession.
And they do it staggeringly quickly. If you've ever been in traffic, here's some of our ADOT cameras right now. This is the 51, again, north of Thomas that you're taking a look at, and you have regular evening traffic on the other side, but we are awaiting that procession to come through on that side. But to Javier's point, all the on-ramps, the off-ramps, they get shut down for security, and they move incredibly quickly with how fast they are able to close everything and then reopen it right behind the procession.
And that procession is moving because, again, security being most important here in this situation, but they are moving, and you could see that on-ramp right there, right off the freeway. That is blocked off, and they will keep that blocked off while that procession passes right by.
Yeah, and Craig, I want to bring you back into the conversation now because, again, as I mentioned, you are a veteran in the helicopter and doing helicopter journalism. Can you talk a little bit about some of the rules that go around something like this?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've actually been on both sides of this equation. Not only when I was serving in the United States Air Force, I've guarded Air Force 2, Air Force 1, and E4 Alert Command Post. So I've been in those security briefings. I've been in those security standpoints. But the other side of this, from the reporting and journalism side of things, of course, we have watched the orchestrated dance, if you will, of law enforcement and security when it comes to these visits. Long before we got word, in fact, and we were able to report earlier today on ABC15's Facebook page and ABC15.com, and you can receive that push alert. Law enforcement was already in the mix. These details and the orchestrating of all of this started late last night. Right after all of this took place, you have the president, the vice president, his team, you have Secret Service began working, and those calls started coming in to Phoenix as well. Law enforcement, whether city, county officials, etc., the highway, DPS, everyone comes into this mix to close all of these on-ramps, the off-ramps. You have to have security, and it's moving security. So while you have an on-ramp or an off-ramp closed for a moment, when all the vehicles in the caravan, make their way through the motorcade there, make their way through a certain area, they'll wait a certain amount of time, and then they'll open up those ramps again to allow, of course, right now we're talking rush hour traffic, which is a normal headache anyway. Now you're adding this layer on top of it. But they wait a certain distance. It's all security protocol. They'll reopen that up, and then when it's time, whenever they get to the funeral home and they do whatever they're going to do there will be certain blocks and certain perimeters. Secret Service will have already scanned that building. The funeral home has been scanned. They know who's in that building. They know literally everyone in that building. They know who they are and even their background. And they'll make sure that that perimeter in that area is completely secure to ensure that when they arrive, everything can go smoothly there. They'll clear out. There won't be protesters, all of that things. We want to go out to Ashley right now. In fact, we've got a shot of Vice President J.D. Vance. Ashley?
Yeah, it looks like we are anticipating kind of another procession that's going to take place. More people coming out of the executive terminal, and it looks like we are thinking that this might be J.D. Vance's kind of motorcade here, but we are waiting to see what happens. We had quite a bit more movement. We have more police officers here waiting on motorcycles, and we have more cars that are pulling out. So we're waiting to see what happens. Some of this crowd here dispersing a little bit, giving hugs, but it looks like we are going to have kind of another moment here where we're going to see some movement. So we will keep you guys posted as we wait for that.
And that would certainly mean a second motorcade, and that would mean a whole nother security procession to move up the 51, so to speak,
and
or
you have to
wherever
wonder,
they're going.
yeah, you have to wonder if that isn't a Secret Service security protocol measure, that the Vice President, because of the unique importance and unique needs of that job, cannot travel with the procession that we're seeing with the hearse right now once everyone is on the ground and in cars and on the freeway, that if the Secret Service did indeed say, no, I'm sorry, Mr. Vice President, we're going to have to move you separately. So we'll continue to follow that. Sometimes when we have, again, the President or the Vice President here, we sometimes get a heads up or a general idea of the planning of where they're going to be. They do keep a very tight lid on that, obviously, for security reasons. But this time we did not. We really did not get any kind of a heads up. So we're following this right along with you here on ABC 15.
And a programming note, we are going to interrupt World News Tonight with David Muir while we continue on this procession here. We apologize, but you know, the importance of what we've seen over the last 24 hours and following this again, knowing that he lived here. Charlie Kirk lived here in Phoenix, and close ties. That's where Turning Point USA is headquartered. As far as a memorial service, we have yet to hear anything. We know that he was actually a member of Dream City Church in Phoenix, but again, we have yet to hear anything as far as memorial service.
Yeah, and you see on the small box on the right side of your screen there, the Sweet James chopper up right now over the procession with Charlie Kirk's body there that we saw leave Sky Harbor a short time ago. They're northbound on the 51 right now, so if you find yourself in a bit of extra traffic as we are in the rush hour here and you're in that area on the 51, that's what this is all about. If you're expecting loved ones or if you are heading out, might stick with us for a few more moments because you certainly don't want to get caught in extra traffic right now.
Yeah, and we're following this procession. You can see it in the small box to your right there. We have a live shot from the ground.
Okay, do you need me live or do you?
And we're just keeping an eye on the situation. Again, we were not given a route of where they were going to head from after leaving the executive terminal. And so we kind of thought ahead, and we have crews spread out across the valley in case they head that direction.
And we have a closer shot we want to bring you now from the Sweet James chopper. And there you can see the hearse going. We're going to get an update here on the street they're on right now as we continue to follow the procession and the casket containing the body of Charlie Kirk being flown from Salt Lake City back here to Arizona, where he founded, of course, Turning Point USA, that became an absolute political force in not just the last election, but really all across the country and in multiple elections, not just the presidential election. It really has galvanized many young people, very controversial for others. Some of the statements that Charlie Kirk has made when he has debated people certainly have not always sat well with many people. For others, they loved it. I mean, but he was not afraid to go out there and share his beliefs and engage in vigorous debate with anyone who wanted to debate him.
And a lot of the time, the focus was on the college campus, and it was so well received that they opened Turning Point chapters all across the country at many college campuses and universities. And he would go there for some time, including spent a lot of time here at ASU as well. But he would go there, we know, right before the presidential election, spent a lot of time there handing out Make America Great Again hats to a lot of students. And they would bring in hundreds, if not thousands of students to just sit out and listen to him debate other people who would step up to the mic, and they would talk and debate about just about anything. There's the procession you see right there, and the motorcade right in front of it as we continue to watch. And I'm trying to look closely to see if we can get an idea of where exactly they are, and perhaps our crew back in the booth can find out where they're traveling by. So 12th and Northern, so this is Central Phoenix where they are driving through right now.
Yeah, and again, we have kind of pre-positioned, as you said, crews all around the valley in anticipation of this event today. I'm just kind of taking a look at the map here as we speak, and we've been following the procession going up the 51. And you had just mentioned that he was a member of Dream City Church, not that far off the 51. So perhaps that is the destination where they're headed.
We continue to watch the procession. This is the body of Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated yesterday at the age of 31. He leaves behind a wife and 2 young kids. He was at Utah Valley University yesterday holding a debate-style event where there were thousands who lined up. Shortly after 12 o'clock yesterday afternoon, that's when a single shot rang out. He was shot in the neck. And as the governor of Utah said, there was one shot, there was one victim, and he was certainly targeted.
Absolutely. And as we see, we're going to Hanson Mortuary is the destination here. We thought perhaps it would be the church, but it's the mortuary right now. That was the destination for the motorcade, and they have now arrived, bringing you live pictures here from Phoenix, from North Phoenix. And as we continue our coverage here on ABC 15 of the body of Charlie Kirk, the very outspoken conservative activist who founded Turning Point USA when he was only 18 years old, being brought back to Arizona aboard Air Force Two. Vice President J.D. Vance and his wife escorting his family along with the casket with his body back here to Arizona. And now you can see they've made their way up the 51, and they're now at Hanson Mortuary, which is where the next part of the events are going to be.
We want to turn to our Craig McKee. He's been at Turning Point USA, the headquarters in Phoenix, where hundreds have gathered, and we've seen that memorial outside of Turning Point USA just continue to grow. Craig.
Yeah, that's right, Javier. It is growing. In fact, there's 2 different memorials. As I've reported on earlier, we've got one right behind me here, which would be on the right side of the main entrance into Turning Point, and then you have another one on the left side of the entry point here. Again, right now, around 75 to 100 people here coming and dropping off flowers still and balloons, praying, taking a moment. I've not seen another prayer circle, but I've seen at least 2 different prayer circles while I've been out here as well, and they are both children and adults. We've seen husbands and wives. We've seen a lot of tears out here as well for people who supported Kirk and his messaging. Some are actually sitting here on their phones. They're watching the streaming broadcast of the hearse arriving and Air Force Two arriving and following its journey along with us. As you reported there, Faye, we are learning these details as those at home are. We didn't get a lot of advance notice for this particular visit. We had just enough time, of course, to get our crews in place and get out to different locations where we've fortunately been able to provide you with some of the live imagery here with his body's arrival at Hanson Mortuary. And, you know, people are definitely, in this circle, are definitely focused in on the coverage of this. They're watching us very closely on the messaging, and, you know, and we're giving them that avenue. We've been asking to a number of people here, hey, do you want to talk to us? Why did you want to come out here? What messaging are you hoping comes out of this? And again, what I keep hearing from so many people I speak to is unity, strength, faith, family. 4 key words that just keep coming out of everyone here, and again, and that usually follows with a prayer and a God bless you at the end of those conversations as well. So this is going to continue out here. It's been ongoing for 24 hours. I have a feeling that these memorials are likely to double in size in the coming days, and especially this weekend when people likely have more free time as well to come by here at the headquarters of Turning Point USA to pay their respects, say a little prayer, leave a message or something for everyone as well.
Yeah, Craig, and we just want to replay shortly after Air Force 2 touched down, and that's when they removed the casket, put it on some sort of lift. They brought it out of Air Force 2. We know that the Vice President, Second Lady, as well as what we're told are family members of Charlie Kirk, were on that plane, as well as other dignitaries and officials who traveled from Salt Lake City after retrieving the body and then were headed to Phoenix. We got that update last night that they were headed to Phoenix. Again, we were trying to search for more information and details throughout into last night, into this morning, and then we're finally given an idea that they had planned to head this way sometime this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. And very quickly, I also want to talk about the search for this suspect, this assassin of Charlie Kirk. There are pictures out there now. The FBI has put out multiple surveillance pictures that they have of the suspect in that. And those pictures, we're going to get those for you in a moment. But first, we want to bring you back out live. You can see the picture there as the body,
mortuary.
Yeah, outside the mortuary as the body is being brought out. Craig?
And yeah, we again did get confirmation from my sources within the VP circle that his family was on Air Force 2 along with very close friends. Not sure who those friends are, but very close friends to the family, I'm told, also on board Air Force 2, many of whom you might be seeing there exiting out of some of the SUVs as part of this motorcade to the funeral home there. I can't see too well from my vantage point out here. My screen's a little small. I can't see the details that you likely can back there in the studio.
Yeah, the casket has been brought out of the hearse and is now being wheeled into the mortuary. It appears to be surrounded by loved ones, and the live pictures that we're bringing you here right now, again, just a very emotional moment, certainly for all of his loved ones.
Yeah, and this is video from our ground crew who is outside of that mortuary and had anticipated possibly the body would be taken to that area. We know lots of officials, but similar to what we saw when Air Force 2 landed and that hearse went by, there's just a quietness to it, right? People are just observing that moment, and many people stood outside the executive terminal with American flags and had been waiting for up to an hour plus just to get a glimpse of Charlie Kirk's body as it was being removed from Air Force 2 and then taken to the mortuary.
And really the history of Charlie Kirk in his 31 short years, so closely tied with the Valley and with the greater Phoenix area. This is where he founded Turning Point USA, again, when he was only 18 years old. The story that I heard, I was at an event, covering an event that Turning Point was hosting. This was several presidential elections ago, and they had actually brought Donald Trump Jr. in, and we were covering that event, and I was talking to one of the close staffers to Charlie Kirk, and he was saying that the way Turning Point was actually founded is when Charlie Kirk was a very young man, still a teenager, 18 years old, that he encountered a very wealthy gentleman named Foster Freeze in an elevator, and he pitched him this idea. And so that gentleman, Foster Freeze, wrote the first $10,000 check to him, and that's essentially how that started.
That was a heck of an elevator speech, right?
Heck of an
They always
elevator
say,
speech,
have your
apparently.
elevator speech ready. We're getting a glimpse of the people and security surrounding that mortuary there, as you know, it appears not as many people there at the mortuary than we saw get off Air Force Two, and that's what Ashley said just moments ago, that there appeared to be a second motorcade that was going to leave the executive terminal, possibly with Vice President J.D. Vance.
And you have to think there's security, heavy security considerations going in, especially in the political climate right now, and how much concern there is about further political violence. And again, we have seen this on both sides of the aisle. You know, neither political party, extremists on neither side, you know, can say they are the only ones doing this, or the other side is the only ones doing this. This really has been going on for a while now, and again, in many ways, this is just the latest incident of this that happened in Utah yesterday.
And many people calling for the rhetoric to be toned down after what we saw yesterday, including our own governor saying there is no place for this political violence. Senator Mark Kelly came out and said the same thing. Of course, his wife, Gabrielle Giffords, was, you know, part of political violence
Strikingly
years ago,
similar situation.
2011 in Tucson, when 6 people were killed. She was shot in the head, and many people didn't think she would survive.
Yeah, and she's had just absolutely remarkable recovery, and she's been very outspoken about this type of thing, the political violence and just gun violence in general. But you know, really, the other piece of this that you know the nation really is talking about now is this idea of freedom of speech. It's one of our founding principles right now, that you cannot respond to speech you dislike with violence.
And that was one of the things that many people had said Charlie Kirk was so great at, that he would sit across from the people, that many who didn't believe what he believed, but they would still have a civil conversation and try to form some sort of agreement, if not agreement, but come to some sort of consensus on particular topics.
Now let's bring Craig back in. And Craig, is the crowd growing? Is it diminishing here as we get closer to the 6 o'clock hour and more people are getting out of work?
Well, Faye, really, it ebbs and flows. It literally does. Right now, it looks like they're actually getting together for a prayer service, prayer circle here again, over to the side. And actually, yeah, may just be breaking up, but there was another prayer circle. This has happened a couple different times today. We'd point the camera that way, but the sun would literally blast the camera. That would not be good. You talk about the discussion of unity. I want to bring in our Jordan Bonke. Jordan, you went to Tempe today. You spoke to a number of people on that messaging about how do you do it?
You know, it's an incredible sight, and here we are remembering what happened and how political violence plays a role in what happened to Charlie Kirk. But on this very day, 24 years ago, the world changed forever. And if you go over to Tempe Beach Park, you see those nearly 3,000 flags that are planted in the ground there. It's a really somber moment. And we were asking people, because we're looking for answers for this one, is what do we have to do to get back to, and Javier, you mentioned this earlier, September 12th, 2001, when the country was united. We all wanted to know the exact same thing. Who was responsible for the September 11th attacks? And who was the ones who died, and how is the country going to respond? That's the question we had for people as ABC 15 listens on this one, is what do we have to do? And what are your ideas to try and reduce the political violence in this country?
Nearly 3,000 flags are staked at Tempe Beach Park for the weekend to make up the healing field, each flag representing a life lost during the 9/11 attacks. Stephen Boyle now lives in Anthem, but in 2001, he says he was a commodity trader at the World Trade Center, and he was home watching it all unfold that Tuesday morning, and says each passing day he learned of another friend who died. He says he lost a total of 150 friends that day.
Did you see this? Did you see that? Like the best man at my wedding. His wife was calling me all day. They couldn't find him.
Listening to others paying their respects, many said the very next day, September 12th, they remember the country was united. Like Fred, a Coast Guard veteran.
We were all together. We were all Americans. We all wanted to find out who had attacked our country and make them pay.
But many pointed out a lot has changed in the past 24 years since then, and political violence continues to mount. So we asked, how can we get back to being a unified country without tragedy? And what can we do to stop political violence? Father and military veteran Dennis Denton says it starts with lawmakers.
When people run for office, they need to change their rhetoric. They need to be inclusive of everybody, not throw hate on any particular person or type of person, but just say, we can have an exchange like Charlie did.
Rebecca saw today as a teaching moment for her little ones.
We need to give each other grace and allow that people have different opinions.
And father and fisherman Joel Smith reminds us of the golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated.
I have some humility of just realizing we've got such strong opinions, but and there may not be just the real even middle ground to those opinions because they're so extreme, but it doesn't have to resort to violence.
Keep our leaders in prayer, I guess.
Stephen shared we may have two main political parties, but we all share one country.
I think you have to stop all the political rhetoric.
You know, hearing from all these folks at the, right as we were headed up, you know, we have so much gear that we try to get out and we try to listen to folks so that we could put it all on TV. One woman came up to me afterwards, she tapped my shoulder, she said, hey, I heard you're looking for sound bites on what we could do to reduce political violence, and she just said one word. She said it all comes back down to family. Some other things that other folks had mentioned here is limit your social media use. That box that we have in our pocket right there is a quite powerful tool. What information is power, and sometimes in that box is disinformation. And those things can make people feel certain ways, but it makes them react in certain ways as well. If you have an example, whether it's in the classroom or whether it's in your community, of how you think we can try and reduce political violence in our community, we want to know about it. And for that, we want folks to send it to us at share@abc15.com. One thing's for certain over here, when we're looking for that September 12th, 2001 vibe, you're seeing unity out here. People getting off work, coming out, holding each other, handing out water all day long like this. And the vibe itself is just one of grieving, mourning, and remembrance.
Jordan Bonke, thank you so much. Faye and Javier, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, guys, we'll check back in with you more throughout the evening. But with so much divide in our country right now, how should we talk and interact online specifically? Because that's sometimes where really, I hate to use the word hate, but that's where hate festers, I feel like, is online sometimes.
It gets ugly,
Yeah.
too ugly. Our Eleni Dow took that question to a mental health expert. Here's what she learned.
There's a lot of political discourse right now, and differing views can run emotions high.
What advice do you have for those who do have those conversations and they tend to disagree on their views?
The goal is never to change minds. Like, you have to ask yourself, do I want to be right or do I want to preserve this relationship?
Mental health expert Nathaniel Bush says when you go into conversations about politics, the goal should not be about winning.
Focusing on the shared values, emphasizing common ground, it can help keep the conversation from feeling like us versus them.
With the shooting Wednesday, more conversations may spark between different political parties.
My only hope is that somehow the reaction, the prevailing reaction from what happened yesterday is going to be a realization that as a society we are not where we want to be.
John Giles, the former mayor of Mesa and a co-founder of the initiative Disagree Better Arizona, says there needs to be better tolerance and respect for others.
It's very sad where we are as a society when you look at the discourse that's going on, the political discourse that's going on.
Some ways to keep political conversations civil: ask meaningful questions, be an active listener, and if things start to escalate, you can choose to walk away. Also remember that everyone is human, including the people you respond to on social media.
Behind every screen is a real human, and the words you say matter.
And it's okay to have different views.
Hopefully, something like this will help us realize that we need to take a step back and we need to, as you say, lower the temperature and recognize the humanity of the people that we have talked ourselves into hating.
Relationships last longer than election cycles. Prioritize compassion and connection over political points.
I'm Eleni Dow, ABC 15 Arizona.
Eleni, thanks. And we want to bring you some of the images of the day. This is Air Force 2 as it was making its final approach to Sky Harbor Airport. Our cameras capturing the scene there as Vice President J.D. Vance and his wife escorted Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's wife, and other loved ones along with his body back here to the valley.
And our next image, we want to show you the mortuary where the body was taken, but first it was pulled from Air Force 2. Once Air Force 2 landed, there were several individuals. They pulled out the casket, they put it on a lift, and then they lowered it to a hearse that was waiting outside of the executive terminal at Sky Harbor Airport. And so these images are outside the mortuary where you can see Phoenix Police is set up right now where security continues.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything, you know, when we were just talking to Craig a few moments ago at the Turning Point headquarters, we were talking about how really it has been a peaceful day, and as it should be after seeing such tremendous violence there on the campus of the university in Utah just yesterday. And again, here are the images coming to you that we've turned around from earlier today of the casket.
Charlie Kirk,
his body
removed from,
inside.
Yeah, Air Force Two. What was interesting is after they loaded it onto the hearse and the hearse took off, being escorted by a motorcade, there was somebody who was in the passenger seat of that hearse, waved out to the crowd because there were, I'd say, anywhere from 50 to 100 people outside that executive terminal where they were holding American flags and just waiting to get a glimpse of the body.
Yeah, and want to show you some new pictures, breaking news just coming in, of the suspect in the shooting and killing of Charlie Kirk. FBI releasing new photos just a short time ago, and this is in the stairwell, I believe, of the building where he went up to the roof. They were able to track him using the security cameras really from the time that he got onto the campus, through his movements up onto the roof. And then he went back down after the shooting and went back into a neighborhood, discarded that what's being described as a bolt-action rifle of some sort. And that's when they lost him. So we're going to have much more on this ahead on ABC 15 News at 6.
Good night.